In the year 1900, a British colonial governor stood before an assembly of African leaders and made a demand so staggering it would ignite one of the most remarkable uprisings in the history of the continent. He wanted their throne, but not just any throne. He demanded a sacred golden seat believed to hold the very spirit of an entire civilization. This is the story of the Anglo-Ashanti Wars, 5 devastating conflicts stretching across nearly 80 years, a collision between 2 empires. And at the heart of it all, gold. Enough gold to forge kingdoms, enough gold to tear them apart. Before we can understand the wars, we need to understand what made this corner of West Africa so extraordinary. The answer is literally in the name, the Gold Coast. For centuries, this region produced staggering quantities of gold. By the 1700s, the Ashanti people had constructed one of the most formidable empires in African history. They controlled trade routes that channeled gold, enslaved people, and ivory toward European merchants waiting on the coast. The Ashanti capital, Kumasi, was legendary among European visitors. They described organized streets, sophisticated architecture, a complex bureaucracy, and a military force capable of mobilizing tens of thousands of fighters. The Ashanti king, the Asantewaa, governed a vast confederation of states held together by loyalty, tribute, and something far more powerful than any weapon, the Golden Stool. According to tradition, it descended from the heavens in the 1600s, delivered by the priest Okomfo Anokye. It represented the unity and spirit of the Ashanti nation itself. No monarch ever sat upon it. It was carried beside him. To possess the stool was to possess the Ashanti people. Meanwhile, the British had maintained coastal trading posts since the 1600s. But the early 1800s brought a fundamental shift. Britain outlawed the transatlantic trade in enslaved people in 1807. Their economic focus pivoted toward controlling raw materials, gold, palm oil, rubber, and cotton. And the richest gold deposits? They lay deep inland, in Ashanti territory. 2 expanding powers, 1 extraordinary prize. The stage was set for a collision that would reshape West Africa. The First Anglo-Ashanti War exploded in 1823, triggered by territorial disputes and British coastal allies who had escaped Ashanti authority. The British governor, Sir Charles McCarthy, marched into the interior with absolute confidence. It proved to be a fatal miscalculation. The Ashanti defeated McCarthy's force decisively. The governor himself was killed in action, and historical accounts suggest his remains were treated with symbolic contempt by the Ashanti court. Whether every detail is accurate or not, the message was unmistakable. The Ashanti Empire was not a minor power to be casually dismissed. The war concluded in 1831 with the Pra River established as a border between British coastal holdings and the Ashanti Empire. An uneasy peace held for decades, but underlying tensions never fully dissipated. The Second Anglo-Ashanti War in 1863 ended largely as a stalemate. Tropical diseases claimed more lives than combat on both sides. British officials in London began questioning whether West African military ventures justified their enormous cost in lives and treasury. But 2 innovations were about to change everything. Quinine, derived from cinchona bark, allowed European troops to survive malaria, and the Maxim machine gun, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute, would transform colonial warfare. The British would not forget the Ashanti. They would simply wait until they could return with overwhelming advantage. By the 1870s, the scramble for Africa was accelerating across the continent. Britain, France, Germany, and Belgium were racing to claim territory. The British could not risk allowing the Ashanti Empire to fall under rival European control. The immediate spark? Britain purchased Dutch trading forts along the coast, including Elmina, which the Ashanti considered within their sphere of influence. King Kofi Karakari demanded the fort's return. Britain refused. Enter General Garnet Wolseley, one of Britain's most celebrated imperial commanders. He assembled a substantial expeditionary force equipped with modern rifles, artillery, and those devastating Maxim guns. Wolseley's critical advantage wasn't merely firepower, it was logistics. His engineers carved roads through 70 miles of nearly impenetrable rainforest, building bridges and supply stations. For the first time, a European army could project sustained military power deep into the Ashanti interior. The Ashanti resisted with extraordinary bravery. At the Battle of Amoafo, they ambushed British columns and inflicted significant casualties. But the Maxim gun was a weapon of mass destruction by 19th century standards. One British officer later wrote that it cut through Ashanti formations with devastating efficiency. In February 1874, Wolseley's forces reached Kumasi. They found the capital mostly abandoned. The king and his court had withdrawn. The British seized what valuables they could find and systematically burned the city. The Treaty of Fomena imposed crushing terms. The Ashanti were required to pay an indemnity of 50,000 ounces of gold, an astronomical sum that drained the royal treasury. They were forced to open trade routes to British merchants and abandon certain traditional practices. But here is what the British failed to comprehend. You can destroy a capital. You can extract wealth. You cannot extinguish a civilization's spirit through a piece of paper. The Ashanti rebuilt, and they remembered every humiliation. 20 years later, the British returned. The stated justification? The Ashanti had not fully paid that devastating gold indemnity from 1874. King Prempeh I had dedicated himself to restoring Ashanti dignity and strength. He rebuilt Kumasi, reorganized the military, and resisted British demands for submission. In London, this looked like defiance. In Kumasi, it was survival. In 1895, a massive British force, over 3,000 troops with modern artillery, advanced on Kumasi. This time, there was no climactic battle. Prempeh recognized that armed resistance would lead only to massive casualties and surrendered to prevent further bloodshed. The British removed Prempeh's royal regalia, placed him in chains, and exiled him to the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean, thousands of miles from his homeland. The symbolism was deliberate and brutal. The empire built upon gold was being dismantled by a more powerful empire. In 1896, Britain proclaimed a protectorate over Ashanti, but one critical thing remained beyond their reach. They still did not possess the Golden Stool, and that failure would prove extraordinarily costly. In March 1900, the new British governor, Sir Frederick Hodgson, convened a meeting of Ashanti chiefs in Kumasi. He had a specific demand. Where is the Golden Stool? Why am I not seated upon it? I represent the supreme power, and the stool is the symbol of your kingship. You will bring it to me. The chiefs were appalled. The Golden Stool was never to be sat upon. It was sacred. It embodied the spirit of the Ashanti nation. And this foreign official expected to use it as ordinary furniture. Enter Yaa Asantewaa, the 60-year-old Queen Mother of Ejisu. When the male chiefs hesitated, she seized a weapon and declared, "Is it true that the courage of the Ashanti is no more? I cannot believe it. If you, the men of Ashanti, will not advance, then we shall. We, the women, will. I shall summon my fellow women. We will confront the Europeans. We will fight until the last of us falls upon the battlefield." Yaa Asantewaa became the military commander of the uprising. She organized thousands of fighters, laid siege to the British fortification in Kumasi, and severed all supply lines. For months, British officials were trapped inside, reduced to desperate measures for survival. Eventually, British reinforcements fought through to relieve the garrison. Yaa Asantewaa was captured and exiled to the Seychelles, where she passed away in 1921. The uprising was suppressed, but the Golden Stool, it remained concealed in the forest, never surrendered, never discovered. In 1901, Ashanti was formally incorporated as a British Crown colony. Yet Ashanti cultural and political institutions proved remarkably resilient. Their traditional governance structure survived colonial administration. Limited self-governance was restored in the 1930s, and in 1957, the Gold Coast achieved independence as Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African territory to break free from British colonial rule. The Golden Stool remains a sacred emblem of the Ashanti people. It continues to feature in royal ceremonies today. No one sits upon it. The tradition endures. Much of the looted Ashanti gold found its way into British museums and private collections. In recent years, Ghana has formally requested the return of these cultural objects, part of a worldwide movement confronting the legacy of colonial extraction. The Anglo-Ashanti Wars were never simply about territory. They were about who would control the extraordinary wealth of the Gold Coast. They represented the collision between African self-determination and European imperial expansion. And they demonstrate that even the most powerful empires face resistance, sometimes from a 60-year-old queen mother with a rifle and an unshakable will. Yaa Asantewaa did not win her war in the conventional sense, but she achieved something more enduring: the preservation of her people's memory. In Ghana today, she is celebrated as a national hero. Schools carry her name, her portrait appears on currency, and the Golden Stool, still protected, still sacred, still representing a spirit that refused to be conquered. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more history that deserves to be remembered. Leave a comment. Had you encountered the story of Yaa Asantewaa before today? I'd genuinely like to know. Until our next episode.